Up and running, up and gunning. Sticky Stocky Sweet TV, Keith Gargan. Cassava, passava, mind over matter, up and running. As them say, the show must have to go on. Because right now, I have some problem with my mixing board. One of the audio not going through for some reason. And I don't know what causing it, but it's not the first, and it's not going to be the last. Because it's giving me that trouble all the while. And it take a lot of time to figure it out. So I'm gonna make it bust my blood clot my brains. Show must go on because I already line up this thing to do. So I'm gonna make that because no sound not coming through one of the channel. And the first time, it happen all the while. So something you can't correct out right away. You have to study. I'm gonna want to sit down as you know 28 past 12 midnight and I try to fix that little problem. By the time we good at done, it's all no. So we just get on what me I deal with. So anyway, we there so we are so well then we see we go on down a Trelawney, the demolition and all them things there. But you know me can understand. Firstly, in this video here, we are talking about we see Andrew Wellness, them call 1 MP at 1 PM, a pine finger at Mark Golden, and everybody a follow, and that's what JLP do, Because more want to know now, on God earth. Them things don't happen in a class civilized country, Or somebody can in a government and something happen. The opposition have nothing to do with what a go on. That the MP says she never know. And she the MP representative. While Labour Party really slick, That's how me I tell last night. Say, well then, to how them a deal with things and them a get away with it. It's like them can just do anything and get away with it. Because now, everybody are blamed. And you see, 119, me know you want Labour right long time. You come out and you admit it, so you're a supporter of Labour right. But one thing I'll give you the blood clot props, sir. You come out and you burn a fire upon them because you say wrong is wrong. So if every Labour right is still like you, everything will be good. Because a long time you know say you're a Labour right until you talk, Because that's why I know. But now you come talk it out of your mouth. There's nothing wrong with that. Because you come out and you say, well, then you're burn a fire. But you know what I like? You're burn a fire upon the Labour government and rate and Leila, and then you start to talk about the whole of them. Mark Golden for give account. How the fuck Mark Golden for give account? Only too wicked, So all in it, you come and you say, well, then you has leak out for the government because what them do is wrong. And you thought that like the talking little blog where you do upon it because you fear and you admit so you're a supporter of the Labour Party. But when wrong is wrong, wrong is wrong. And that is good. But you can't have come up pine finger now like you want to balance out something. And I call out Mark Golden name. Mark Golden has nothing to do with the rascal government. You see Mark Golden, the opposition can't do nothing, They have to beg them for money. And you know that. So only I call out opposition. That's why I'm sure say, well then, Labour right is really fool, I'm not going to say really dunce because 119 can read and write and him have some sense. Some of them, when you say fully dunce, a lot of them can read and write. Far from dunce, but them still blood clot act like them dunce because them are support the unsupportable. Them are defend the undefendable. And that can't be right. Because I don't know how this can happen now and Andrew Wallace watch. I want to spin things nationwide. Everybody want to talk about the real thing what go on. And the little fucking 3-day baby, 3-day-old baby where in the blood clot element and all these things. Yo, let me tell you something, These people, I think is me hear somebody come out today and say, well, the same people them who get them house bulldozer down. Because most of them are Labour right, them vote for that woman there. Right? And if election be called tomorrow, them got a blood clot go back and vote for JLP same speed. And I believe that. Because them people are not really I don't know, they're not normal. I'll hear them attack and things like that. And that's why we come to the conclusion and say, look, it must be a spell upon Jamaican people. Must be a spell upon Jamaican people. To be truthful. How can one want to blame opposition and bringing them in a it when them is opposition? Them not nothing to do with the government. Tell me something, when as soon as our lack of knowledge and common sense, you don't never find that in England, you know. Anything like anything will go on bad in a government. Nobody not call out no blood clot opposition because they're not in power. The only people we call out the opposition is the same MP them, just like one Joel's MP them do. Anything them call up and say, oh yeah, them was in power and rated. But them thing they not really wash. We are talking with the people in a power at the moment. So no can but you see on Jamaica no can brainwash with those fuckery. Yeah. So Andrew Wells at the head of that. Anyway, so we are talking about the most important thing we are talking about now. We see Isat Buchanan school Dalroy Chucky school in bad. Yeah, and that was a good debate. So that mostly we are going to just concentrate on. Because me say something last night when we are talking about Mark Golden and the chance of winning an election. We talk on that. Not take back no talk. And we put over 4 person them when we see who really could be a leader right away and get the fucking thing going. Is Damon Crawford, Alfred Dals, Nikisha, Burchell, and the same Isaac Buchanan there. People might hear me say that and say, well, I want blood law youth here say. What am I say? But you don't know. Politics is funny. Yeah, man. Nelson Mandela did blood law that prison for nearly 30 years. You know, come from prison, come blood law, rules, and people love him so much. Worldwide, the Queen look up to him. Everybody love him. And he's a prisoner. So when you come and look at nasty thing, a man go prison and do him time and come out and successful and not try to beat him. And look much and when it's supposed to know, say, well then, he's only in a GLP, 2 GLP MP got prison already, you know. There's no PMP MP got prison for corruption, you know. But 2, right, of GLP MP go to Rastland prison for corruption already. So, when if you look on that, and a lot of them are criminal, but them not get caught, them are hide. The amount of them are criminal. So when you just talk without no basic and no common sense. But sometimes I never waste my compound, you know, because one or two one-sided people, and them are cause. We are brother talk all today say, well, then if it was in the 80s, that will never go on. People will stand up and get up. Yeah, it will be a different thing. So you see, we know them things there, and that's all it is. So sometimes when people talk, but the same people who talk, them got a blood clot live to feel it. How long you think them can go on so far? How long you think them can go on so far? And try to deceive blood clot, them own Jamaican people, just for them belly. Not them not get none of that too tough, you know. Them not get none of the big money them. And of them are get it. The MP them, and the MP to give them so little blood clot, party money, and they feel good about that. Loving and dance the blood clot belly too much, and that's all it is. Yeah. I'm not telling you, boy, it's not really pretty. It's not really pretty at all. When you look on it, boy, I tell you, the people them love them belly too much, brother. Them love them belly too much. And them sell out for little and nothing. And try to put down the other side and the rest of people who have sense and talk about them know, you know. But it's a trend. It's a fucking trend. And that's all it is. I'm sorry, so my blood clot thing now coming through the challenge so I can play. Because I don't know what I'm to this blood clot. Because sometimes you do a live and you don't have that to really, you know, really nice, you know. But as I'm saying, I set up my thumbnail already, so I just still concentrate on it, you know. But I'm tell you, these people, man. I don't know if them, I'm not talk about dog stomach. I don't know what kind of stomach them sick. Because when you hear them talk, Why not bring in rascal opposition, not this? What opposition have to do with this? Because my mind, I'm going to come out and lay him rascal thing them on the line, what am I going to do? And them take the cause about land and people with land. And that is a manly policy from a longer time. And Andrew has come out, come say, we'll give them £32,000. Sorry, $32,000 for minimum wage. And them fucking buy it. And say, oh, yeah. That's why I say them love them belly too much. Although we know achieve them people election, but still, those are the promises when they come and say, and then when they come in, do, put on rascal. Yo, I tell you, say, you know, put on $1,000. After the man says 32,000, you know, put on a fucking $1,000. And when you put on $1,000, things are raised. So it don't, that don't make no, in a scratch no surface. Someone will say, yo, me tell I tell you something, you know, brother. It's like sometimes you listen to these people, how them talk and walk on. It's like, yeah, check some them. Why? This come like a blood clot. It's a movie show you watch. Not a real thing, you know. Cause you know you got a movie, you see theory and all kind of things. And people don't talk like say, well, in something real. But it's not nothing real. And this we see I go through right now. Me not understand. It kind of rascal, really sticky. Because how can somebody try to blame PMP on this? PMP don't have power, PMP don't control nothing. They don't want to tell PMP nothing and them go on them trip and things like that. Then come back, nobody can see no receipt, look on the bus them. So PMP for pocket, what not call PMP name for? You know, so not really dark, brother and sister. Although me on no blood, some of them can be sister and brother because only they in one different world. You can't blame PMP, only no sense. You never see that a blood clot England. So yeah, these people, in the first world country, people really act intelligent, you know. And not going like an idiot, you know. Jamaican is going like Jamaican is blood clot. Everybody are the same, you know. Because how can something like this happen? Andrew Wallace in a power. They know everything will go on. Opposition is a blood clot, somebody who look on, you know, and talk up for the Jamaican people as the government, as well, as you can call it the king opposition, because the queen dead and gone, because we're still under British rule. But that in the law. But because the opposition not really doing them work as one supposed to do it, people have a leak out still, but it don't matter what them do, them still cannot be blamed for something like this. What the rest of opposition have to do with what happened in a Trelawny when people bulldoze down people's house? And the MP are going to say she never know nothing about it. You know, see them play games. And the people might follow, you know. You see the Jamaica what me, you know, we are grew up in it was one time, nobody could come with them fuckery. Believe you me. Me don't understand this, brother. Mark Golden, PMP, what the blood clot them have to do with this? Or them coming at this? Yo. It's kind of fuck up. It's kind of really fuck up. Me don't understand. Oh, these people can really, people can so dark and fool like them. Well, then again, you know, some dark and fool because them, what them do, them listen what them people say and them follow. You call it follow backer, jump on bandwagon and all these things. Bandwagon rider. And that's all it is. Because believe you me, that's why I see me not like, be the brother talk, we don't play last night. Him not deal with blood clot. Me not like, and me talk that all the while. It's die-hearted people. Me not like them. Because them I make the country mash up. And them, if you go up on that, you're die-hearted, that's somebody I do wrong. And you back it, and I try to spin it, and I take up with the person who I do wrong. Oh, Jamaica gonna better. That's what I'm saying, you know. Them the people, you know, me attack it with no water in my mouth. If me see them at dead for young, me walk over them and wait till when them fucking blow the last breath and them go keep a party. Because the more you get rid of them people, the more Jamaican better. You want to get rid of those people, they were all bungle. Them are all bungle. Them fool, nobody fool. Them are all blood clot bungle because somebody are defend the undefendable and now defend Jamaica. And them are Jamaican. Anything them get them talk on it and them blood clot agree with it and all these things. And them can't see the right from wrong. Come on. But anyway, we leave them to time. When I go butter my blood clot, gump on them really because we see it get worse. We see Jamaica, I never used to go on like that one at a time. In the 80s a different thing. And early on that too. But me don't know what to these blood clot millennium people. But then again, all some of the grannies them and the grandfather them, when I'm not teething them blood clot mouth. Nothing can fix them mouth, but they come to about a ring bell and talk about shower. And when you look on them, you can't know the labor right them differently, you know. Because they look shabba. The labor right them look shabby. When you see them, you know them. Who don't have no teeth in their mouth, them have something will look fuck up on them. They're not real. From long time, labor right look like that. You know them personally. Them are some of the most rascal, you could call it despicable blood clot people them because if you have a bad rascal thinking in your mind for your country where you born, and on top of that, not just your country where you born, your kids them where you have will come after you. So what you are set for them? What the fuck you are set for them? Then again, them a corruption, you know, because this is the corruption there. As Mark Wallen say, if the top of the stream is dirty, the whole bomber whole stream is dirty. So the whole of them rascal follow back they are the labor right there. Them corrupted the fuck in their mind. They will kill you too. For politics. That's why them a go on and things like that. And them not get out of it as me say. What them a get out of it? Them a get house out of it now. Some of them live with zinc fence round them same blood clot way. When rain fall, pay mud in them yard. When them the people they live beautifully with maid, gardener, helpers, drivers. Them have rascal, Delco plant, they light cut off, boom, right away them get have light. Them never out of water. Them live like a king and you see it. Them never out of water, you know, and all these things, you know. But poor people suffer and them still support them. And them now getting a better get better. Blood clot. No, sir, sometimes you really, you know, have to wonder. But anyway, when I will keep talking, we'll get in the video because we see, as me say, Isat Buchanan, school, Dalroy Chucky. One like, you know, Isaac bright and the whole of them, you know. And them afraid for him like puss. And that's why I tick him as a leader. I don't care what anybody wants to say, because some people now look on the narrative, they now look on the fucking thing where the bigger thing, the bigger picture. Right? Because if him fucking go up against HOLLNESS, as a man who go prison, a war is not a dance at Jamaica. HOLLNESS not afraid of him like puss. You know what? He may time up, twist him up. Because HOLLNESS not know nothing about law. Only enough to tell blood clot lie. So is it all them things they want to see? We want something change now. So we can move. You know, look, if you drive a truck, you know, and you go up a steep hill, you know, you have to drag gear, you know, to go up on that hill, you know. So you need to change a gear. PMP need to change a gear now and bring somebody there with, how you call them, underdog, with what I expect. And that's how me look on things, you know. Yeah, man. And he mash them up. Because Isat Buchanan is a winner. If you check him, you me tell it all the while, he's a winner. And don't take him simple. He have it up there. Yeah. He's not no quashi lawyer, he have it up there. So when me come and say, well then, me give him a tick in that 4 to be the leader, it's no joke. Let the people are going to see it that way then, but they will go back and think and say, you know what God gonna say are true, but you know look on the bigger picture. Anyway, we'll watch this. Because sometimes my thing is different, you know. Yeah man, my thing is really different from a lot of people. I not really coming a follow back, you know. Hear this.
If they are pleading not guilty, they say they're denying that they commit the offense. Or there are offenses which an attorney may bring to the, or even the DPP, to the court's attention, or children's advocate as the case may be, that it is one in which is not in the schedule as a child diversion offense, but it would be appropriate because of the nature and circumstances of the case that the court may exercise its discretion. And in all sincerity, we can't really determine how the court exercises its discretion. We are going to leave it to the court to exercise. If it sees fit to exercise its discretion to refer the matter to the child diversion program. So, Ms. Eden, you need to just capture for us what has been discussed, okay? So 33 should remain, but much of it will be removed in relation to child diversion offenses, save and except where the child is there in court for a child diversion offense, but is pleading not guilty, and also those offenses where the court is being asked to exercise a discretion that the child be referred to the child diversion program. Okay, and that's section 33. I think it's a very important section because it is one in which that has given a lot of trouble to the judges. I must tell you the truth, okay? I have had meetings with judges, and section 33 makes the point. The child pleads guilty. And we're saying from section 9 that in section 9 we don't expect the child to plead guilty, because when they plead guilty they have a record. But section 33 in many ways contradicts what is said in section 9. So we need to really work it, Ms. Eaton, so that section 9 and section 33 are not in conflict. Well, it's a question, some of it has to be eliminated. For child diversion offenses, it should not be there, save and except where the child is pleading that they are not guilty, they weren't involved. But then also where the discretion, and it is provided, where the court is being asked to exercise the discretion to provide the child with the program, even though it is not one of the scheduled offenses. And I can tell you from the very beginning, we did note that this section 33 was a troublesome section, and as can be seen from the different recommendations from the ministries, from Jamaicans for Justice, it is a matter, Ms. Eaton, that we should look at carefully how we revise it going forward. Okay? So that's section 33. All right, so we move to section 34. Welcome,
Mr. Chairman,
welcome, Mr. Member Buchanan and Member Leander Dixon. Yes,
Yeah, just before you move to 34, Mr. Chairman, section 33, subsection 1 starts with dealing with matters brought before the court in respect of a diversion offense. Subsection 2 speaks to the court's considerations of matters set out in subsection 3, and subsection 3 discusses what the court must consider when determining whether to issue a warning. And if you look at what falls under subsection 3, the matters that fall under subsection 3 for the court's consideration in determining whether to issue a warning read to me as matters related to offenses that are prescribed offenses, i.e. diversion offenses under this act.
correct.
I'm asking for some clarification from anyone who can assist me. 33 is not intended, in my view, to deal with non-diversion offenses. We're not prescribing for the court what it must do in relation to non-diversion offenses under 33. So I'm concerned that we are conflating matters or mixing matters not intended to be mixed, and I'd appreciate some clarification. Thank you.
We are. You're quite right, Senator Golden Campbell. What we're saying is that we are still going to allow the court to consider a child diversion program, even though it is not a child diversion offense. So we are now saying that for child diversion offense, and this is where the drafter will have to help us, that for child diversion offenses, the matter won't necessarily come to court, because we are hoping it will be referred directly to the child diversion office before it comes to court. But it can come to court in two ways for child diversion offenses. Firstly, where the child is saying he or she is not guilty, and therefore the matter will have to be dealt with by the court. And secondly, where we're not guilty, or secondly, where the child has been put on the child diversion program but has not complied, and therefore the matter has to be returned to court. Okay? So, and then the third point, the point you are raising, Senator Sharon Golden Campbell, we want Section 33 to capture the area of the non-child diversion offenses, which we're hoping that the court will exercise its discretion to do. Yeah, go ahead, Ms.
Right.
One second. Yeah.
I was actually pointing out that Section 37(2) of the Act actually has that provision.
Section 37?
37. So if you have the Act before you, Section 37(2) reads, notwithstanding the diversion offenses specified in the first schedule, a court may make a child diversion referral order in respect of any other offense in the interest of justice.
Ah.
Right.
So
Thank you. And that, Chairman, was what prompted my question. Because I thought if we have 37(2), we're mixing up 33 if we're considering.
And I am.
A little blood clot boy named Dalroy Chucky, now the worst justice minister ever me ever seen in Jamaica, worst of the worst. Because I don't know what I'm doing. The guy that is so blood clot, cut up in himself. Because I'm going to talk about other day, there's no human rights abuse in Jamaica. So when you hear a justice system attack them, a justice minister attack them things there, how can you really take him serious? He's just a bumble racist. One of them slave masters still about. And you can't, and people can't, and sometimes when we see them talk about Mark Golden as a white man, so what him is? What color him is? And look much of them in the blood clot GLP. So that's how we show to them people that lose a screw. Them is not for Jamaica. When them watch them little thing and thing like that. Seago is a real white American. Never born in Jamaica. But him come rule Jamaica. And them not a problem with that. So that's why I know say them people are fool and illiterate. We are talking with the die-hearted nigger them, Yo. Because I see so much things we can't talk about. And them just
totally, as usual, wrong, right?
No, Chairman, I would not say that at
So
all.
in other words, I'm going ahead of myself. So, Ms. Eden, what has to happen in 33? It may well have to refer to 37 for the non-child diversion offenses. Okay, Senator Sharon Golden Campbell. Yes, Ms. Eden.
Thank you, Chair. I just thought it would be useful for us to remind ourselves what a diversion offense is. A diversion offense means an offense specified in the first schedule. B, any other offense for which a court may make an order referring a child to participate in a child diversion program. The distinction between first schedule and any other criminal offense committed by a child is with reference to who may make the referral. So there is no, in other words, once a child commits a criminal offense, it is a child diversion offense. It's just that the offenses that are listed in the first schedule are the ones that can be dealt with by the constable.
So the court has the
Thank you, Mr. Eaton. Thanks for that clarification. That's a nice nuance to the point. Yes, go ahead.
Chairman, you're making me lose the opportunity to sound bright, and my classmates are taking all of the salient points from me.
But you don't need to tell people you're bright to know. We know.
I just was saying, but I want to look bright on TV, Chairman.
Brighter than you.
Anyway, but Chairman, I just want to bring to the attention that there is some overlap.
Yes.
So while I was listening to the conversation, albeit I apologize for my lateness, Section 33, and I have my notes here, and I also looked at the recommendations. I'm just hoping that we can address some of the things that might be problematic when we read the sections across the Act. For instance, this warning, there's like Part D. Things that need to be removed is the adjourning the case sine die and the effects of that. Removing that. But also, we know the court has the option to hear the case, and there's the aspect of it about issuing a warning to the child and suspend the prosecution. The suspending of the prosecution that also have the effect of having it hanging over the child's head, and so the language is something that we want to correct. This is where, and I know that Senator Golden is listening, and I was trying to whisper to you, Chairman, but I think that I'm now wondering if this aspect about first schedule offenses and mandatory child diversions, if it would take it out of Section 33, if there are aspects of it that we say we don't necessarily need consent from the offender or the victim, and if there are some diversion offenses that go straight to child diversion, then Section 33 would be a discretionary section for the court's power only.
If you don't mind me interrupting,
Sure.
If you listen to Ms. Eaton, that's the point. Ms. Eaton makes a point quite correctly that the first schedule lists a number of child diversion offenses where the constable can warn in, caution, or charge, and if charged, the DPP can also refer to child diversion. So we are hoping that for those that are listed in the first schedule, the child doesn't go to court.
I know, Chairman, but what I'm saying is, you notice that we are contemplating layers of discretion, constable, DPP, and the court. We're saying that if as drafted, as a committee, as the legislators guided by competent drafters, if we are finding a mechanism where some of this is mandatory, it doesn't apply, because there will be situations where, as an officer, I won't exercise that discretion. Me no know if I do, and I pass the baton. It goes to the DPP, and she says, let's leave it for the judge. But then it also opens the discretion to whether or not the right mix of Starbucks was...
where Isaac are doing a beat and teach and school him. Yeah. As I'm sure said, them afraid for him because they're not bright like him. But them can't come and talk about man who got prison and all them things that them... I don't know what I'm to that. Prison never make for dog, you know. Marcus Garvey got prison. You have two MP, big MP. One of them a millionaire. You have this brother here. What name again? Lord Archer. You know Lord Archer, one of the richest man in England, you know. And him was a blood clot peer in the Conservative Party. And him got a blood clot prison for perjury. And the next one again, I can't remember his name. So you see all of these things, they call it democracy country. You can't get, who got prison at Jamaica? All when them blood clot get redundant and the things, they file out on them. So them a blood clot beat Isaac, but the man they go and do him sentence and things like that. There's no bad people. Look, Buju Banton go prison and then come back and him more successful. Buju Banton is a billionaire in a Jamaican currency. Millionaire in a US currency. Buju see there. And go prison. Cartel go prison and look at the successful cartel have, and cartel come out And then they want him, cartel dead in a prison, you know. And you up now. Cartel come out and do Freedom Street. And you know what blood clot money going to the economy? You know what blood clot money going to the economy? For that one, well, that one rascal show. And people supposed to remember them things there. So the same man they want them beat down and talk about and I try to put some, I don't know what I try to do, you know, but they try to blood clot, stigmatize them and, oh, this and that and that. Come on, bullshit. Prison never make the dog, brother. But all me can say, Isaac, bright and the whole, you know. I want to with PMP, you know. PMP are bright people, you know. But sometimes the brightness not really sure in a lot of way because PMP, MP, them all, the lawyer, them is good lawyer on PMP side. No quash lawyer. The lawyer them on the JLP side appear idiot them, including the one named Dalroy Chuck. Right, the whole of them are idiot. Terror Long. You have the boy named Pernell Charles Jr. They call themselves liar. What creates them win? I'm a quash and you have one named Tavares. Simpson Tavares. Him are the one who did up on cartel case first, you know. And couldn't do fuck all. So I see the man when I come. So I see all of them afraid for them people here. The man are bright. The man are well bright, know the law. And afraid of him like a puss. That's why I know if he come up as a leader, he couldn't do some damage to the JLP party. And there's no doubt about that. Because they have to just accept him, but they don't want him there. They're afraid. You know when people afraid for people? Him is one of them when they're afraid for. May I tell you that? Especially, why make it so bad again? Because a man go prison, them use that and beat him, talk about it all the while. And that made them feel shame and hold on them head. When him in a parliament, I rebuke them like this. They don't like it, people, may I tell you. So go on, Isaac, beat them with the broad belt.
My hope, and I just expressed in my personal position, is that in relation to the child diversion offenses, they don't go to court only at all. Only if the child challenges that they did not commit the offense, or secondly, they did not complete the child diversion program appropriately. So that the only time a child would go to court are in those two cases, or they have committed an offense that is not in the schedule, and you're asking the court to exercise its discretion on the 37.
I'll take that point.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's fairly clear now. So we move to 35, is it? 34? 34.
So Section 34 of the Act speaks to court orders. So Section 34(1) reads, where a child is brought before the court as a child in need of care and protection under the Child Care and Protection Act, or as a child offender or otherwise, the court may make an order under subsection 2 in respect of the child if satisfied that it is expedient so to deal with the child. Subsection 2 reads, an order under subsection 1 may, A, require the child to make amends for the loss or injury caused to a person by the child, including by the rendering of services by the child directly to the victim who sustained the loss or injury, as the case may be, if that victim consents to receiving the service. B, if there is no identified victim to whom reparation may be made, under paragraph A, require the child to make amends by rendering services to the benefit of the community. C, hereinafter referred to as an order to make amends. C, require restitution subject to such terms and conditions as may be specified in the order. D, refer child to the Child Diversion Committee for participation in a child diversion program, hereinafter referred to as a Child Diversion Referral Order. And finally, E, suspend the sentence of a child who has completed a child diversion program so that the sentence will not take effect, hereinafter referred to as a suspended sentence order.
All right, both the Ministry of Education and the Jamaicans of Justice had concerns with this section 34. You would like to?
the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, their recommendation is in relation to section 34 to 36 of the Act. In regards to court orders, reparation orders, and orders to make amends, we therefore recommend that the provisions be revisited to include a child in conflict with the law, together with a child offender under section 35, subsection 1A, and section 36, subsection 1A, as well as the matter of the offense being alleged, as well as proven under section 35, subsection 1B, and section 36, subsection 1B, as the case may be. Further, in light of the removal of the reference to a child in need of care and protection, reference to a children's officer under section 35, subsection 1, and section 36, subsection 1 would need to be deleted. This is on the premise that children's officers, as per the Child Care and Protection Act, would only have jurisdiction to act in circumstances where a child is deemed in need of care and protection. The Jamaicans for Justice recommendation.
But, sorry, the Minister of Education continue. Oh,
Well,
no, that's
it's in
35,
relation to section 35 and 36, Minister.
So we can get to that. What Jamaicans for Justice said?
Jamaicans.
All the boy drink too much rum and whiskey, them same drink, you know. You mean at the parliament look like you want to sleep and I make mistake. I stop the people them want to talk about and there's nothing to go so. Them not really, them just dead there, you know. Them they should never be there. These old guards. We call them old fart. Right?
For Justice is recommending that repeal all references to a child in need of care and protection under section 35 or amend 34, or amend section 34 to clarify that children primarily in need of care and protection are referred to the CPFSA and not to the diversion program.
Right, I think there may be merit in that argument. There's, yes, there's merit in that argument. In other words, we have been conflating these two programs, and therefore I agree with the Minister of Education and the Jamaicans for Justice that any reference to the child being referred to the child care and protection should not be a part of this act. This act should only be concerned where the child is in conflict with the law. So we're going to streamline it throughout in that. Yes, Ms. Ryan.
Minister, I'm just going back in my memory, and because as you had pointed out at the last sitting, I was there from the beginning. My recollection is that the inclusion of children being in need of care and protection alongside the child offender under court orders was because it was to capture children who were below the age of criminal responsibility, who may have committed what would have been a crime but could not be charged with it. And this section was to empower a regular children's court judge sitting to pick up, to be able to do the reparation order, to be able to do an order to make amends for even those children below 12 to have these orders be done. That was my recollection.
But with due respect, Mr. Wright, it really should go straight to the Child Care and Protection Act. In other words, why put it here for the Child Diversion Office to say, no, it's not for us, it is for CPFSA? So that if we leave it there, the court may well be wondering what to do. We should make it clear that a child under 12 is not going to be a part of the Child Diversion Program. It must go straight to the Children's Child Care and Protection Division. So I agree that we should remove all references to child care and protection in the bill. Okay, that's section 34. 35, which is the same thing. If you ask me, both 35 and 36 keep referring to Child Care and Protection Act. And this is where we want to streamline between 34 and 36, that we are only referring to children who are in conflict with the law and who can be referred to the Child Diversion Program. All other references to children should be going straight to the Child Care and Protection Division of the Ministry of Education. Okay? So I would, without even reading them, Ms. Coulthard, let Ms. Shanique deal with what was said because it captures what is in those sections. Go ahead, Ms. Shanique.
So are we moving to 36, Minister? Or
No,
wrap up the
we
comments
just
on
deal with
34?
34 to 36. They're dealing with the orders.
So 37, so we'll read section 37.
No.
Yeah?
I want you to read what the Minister of Education and Jamaicans for Justice said in relation to 35 and 36.
The Ministry of Education, under Section 36, order to make amends, and the recommendation is in relation to 34.
Go to from Section 35 and 36, the Ministry of Education.
Okay, Minister. Reparation order. The Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information.
It's a brother look like him in the uneasy. He look like him drunk because I'm saying he's a whiskey drinker, you know. And there's something, we look on him body language, him a move and things like that, and him face, and him, this guy under some influence of something. I saw them come in a parliament and them chat some fuckery, you know, because he's a dunce justice minister. He's a corrupted justice minister. This brother here, Dalroy Chuck.
Section 34 to 36, in regards to court orders, reparation orders, and orders to make amends, we therefore recommend that the provision be revisited to include the child in conflict with the law together with a child offender under Section 35, subsection 1, and Section 36, subsection 1A, as well as the matter of the offense being alleged, as well as proven under Section 35, subsection 1B, and Section 36, subsection 1B, as the case may be. Further, in light of the removal of the reference to a child in need of care and protection, reference to a children's officer under Section 35, subsection 1, and Section 36, subsection 1 would need to be deleted. This is on the premise that the children's officers are, as per the Child Care and Protection Act, would only have jurisdiction to act in circumstances where the child is deemed in need of care and protection. So that comment from the ministry.
Go ahead and read the Section 36 and 36 from the Ministry of Education too.
Under Section 36, order to make amends. In regards to court orders, reparation orders, and orders to make amends, we therefore recommend that the provision be revisited to include, so Minister, it's the same recommendation copied and pasted.
Okay. Yes, I see. All right. Read Jamaicans for Justice now then. They make the same recommendations. Part 2.
It's from the ministry, from Jamaicans for Justice on Section 35.
Yes, go ahead.
There are no comments from Jamaicans for Justice on Section 35 or 36, Minister.
Yes. Go ahead.
So we are now at Section 37.
Right. So basically, when we look at 34 to 36, it is conflating, what CPFSA is responsible for, and that it is child diversion program should, in a sense, be referring the matters to them. So most of 34 to 36 might well be repealed or amended, as the case may be. Okay? So we go to 37, which is, we dealt with. Right, and 37 is the residual clause for offenses that would be in the discretion of the court to refer to child diversion because it is not in the first schedule. And that, as we pointed out, Ms. Eden, will have to be reconciled with Section 33 so that there's a quick, or should I say, we know what is the court's responsibility as against what can be referred directly by the constable or the DPP straight to the child diversion offices. So we can then go straight to 38.
Section 38 of the Act speaks to suspended sentence order. The court may make a suspended sentence order if the court is satisfied that a child having been referred to a child diversion committee for participation in a child diversion program under Section 34 has completed the child diversion program in respect of the diversion offense for which the child has been convicted
And this is where I would say we need to amend that section. Here, what we're saying, you see, is under Section 37, it's a non-child diversion offense. It may well be that the child is found as a toy gun, just to use an example. We don't want the child to have a criminal record. And if the child pleads guilty, even and get a suspended sentence, that child will have a criminal record, and that may not be suspendable, because under the Expungement Act, it can't be expunged. So we need to point out that where the court intends to exercise its discretion to refer a child to the child diversion program, that the court does so and allow a period of 3 to 6 months, as the case may be, to see if the child complies with the child diversion program, and if the child returns and the child diversion officer can show the court that the child has not, should I say, has rehabilitated or successfully completed the program, urge the court to dismiss the case. So we need to put it that way, Ms. Eden. In other words, what you're saying, Ms. Eden, is that we don't, how Section 38, in pursuance of Section 37, gives the impression that the child will be found guilty or as a plead guilty, and therefore will have a criminal record. And we're saying that that is not the intention overall of this act. So we need to find a way to, guide the court accordingly. Go ahead, Ms. Eden.
Thank you, Chair. If memory serves, there was earlier discussion by the committee pertaining to this provision in the context of the scope of this act, which was that it should not operate in relation to a child who had been convicted. So earlier, if memory serves, the committee had considered the deletion of Section 38 consistent with the earlier proposal that the reference to a child who had been convicted should not be within the scope of this act.
So, colleagues, as Ms. Eden pointed out from the discussion and the recommendation, the likelihood is that Section 38 could be deleted. And Ms. Eden is suggesting that is for our consideration, and I would support it. Yes, Mr.
I'm supporting and reminding that I think we had a lot of discussion surrounding this, and I knew that that particular section was a transitional period. Mm-hmm. And I think that that transition is over.
Absolutely.
And it should be removed.
And removing it reflects a lot of what we have been discussing.
That is so true.
So the answer is yes, Ms. Eden. The recommendation is that Section 38 should be depleted. Senator Golden Campbell, I
don't have anything further to add. I was just registering my agreement as well, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Golden Campbell.
And just to say, Chairman, that I think it was actually reflected in the minutes of June 3rd.
Wonderful.
That recommendation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Donna Scott Motley. So that is section.
And I also want to record my approval of that section to be removed as well.
Thank you very much, Minister Flynn, Cuthbert Flynn. So we now move to 39 and we can really just go straight from 39 to the end, okay? All the remaining sections. Just these are basically administrative matters, right? So we effectively would have completed, you know, the bill in terms of the assessment. Now, is there anything else, Ms. Graham? The schedule? Sorry.
Just equally the complete removal of section 44. And I think that would complete 44.
Could you read it for me, please?
So section 44 deals with the transitional provision, and it reads, subject to the provisions of this section, with effect from the appointed day, the provisions of this act shall have effect and apply in relation to a child offender, young inmate, or parolee who was a child at the time of conviction, as if the act were in force at the time. A, the child offender was brought before a court. B, the young inmate was sentenced. Or C, C, of the grant of parole. And 2, notwithstanding the provisions of the Parole Act or any other enactment in respect of a person who was a child offender or a young inmate at the time of the grant of parole, the parole board may amend the requirements of the relevant parole order in respect of that parolee in accordance with this act as if it were in force at the time when the parole was granted. And subsection 3, in this section, young inmate means an inmate under the age of 18 years.
Okay. Now, just for reference, Miss Venetia Phillips is not here. Do you know of any cases that were dealt with of children who were convicted and in the last 5 or so years and who were institutionalized? You're not aware, Ms. Tasha? So,
That relevant?
Any such circumstance?
No. Yes, Ms.
That not relevant?
No, we're talking about persons. We're talking. You see, I think this act had anticipated that there may have been juveniles who were convicted and who could have benefited from the child diversion program.
I have a young child who was convicted of an offense, and from a school in Trelawney.
The challenge we have, you see, the challenge we have is that in most of those cases, you can't remove the guilty plea. You know, that is why we are trying to avoid a guilty plea going forward. So this act was hoping, I can put it no better than that, in the transitional program, that the child would have gone through a child diversion program even after conviction, and that may well assist that child in getting an early expungement. So I agree with Member Buchanan that we can remove now Section 44. So if there are no objection, everyone, we will also recommend that Section 44 be removed. Okay, finally, the schedule. Sorry, go ahead, Senator Sharon.
Chairman, I would like to just ask the committee to look at Section 43. I think the only comment on Section 43 came from the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society. This act, Chairman, was passed in 2018, and I do believe this is the first review of the act. 2018 and 2026, of course, makes that 8 years and not 3 years. We often, Chairman, put these provisions in legislation. I've been seeing them certainly for the last 20 years, that we are indicating in the legislation that it must be reviewed within a particular statutory period. But it is more often observed in the breach than it is complied with. And there is no consequence to anyone, neither minister nor ministry nor office, for failing to bring the review of the act to the Parliament. I raise this, Minister, not to create unnecessary sanctions for public officers, but simply to say that we have a duty to monitor legislation, and we have a duty in the Parliament to ensure that it is reviewed in a timely fashion and that it receives the scrutiny of the officials sent to the Parliament by the people.
I think
And
you're
so
correct.
I am asking.
No, I think you're totally correct, Senator Shireen Golden Campbell. So,
I'm not Chairman lambasting anybody here. I'm simply asking that we look at 43. This is now requiring that the legislation be, the first review should have been 3 years, and it's saying it shall be reviewed from time to time. I'm proposing, Chairman, that we ask that the legislation be reviewed every 5 years at a minimum, and I'm open to whether or not that's an appropriate time. And I'm also asking, Minister, that if there is a failure to bring the act for review within the 5 years, that the Minister be required to seek the permission of Parliament to extend that time and give reasons therefore.
okay, I think I agree with you, Senator Shireen Golden Campbell. So my future successors will be will need to. No, no. May I just say no? I would say subsection 2 should require that the act be reviewed at least every 5 years. Okay, and just put it like that. If we do it, review every 5 years. That's it. I don't think we should really, impose, because if you do that.
But then why put it in? Because it's not observed at all, and this is not the only legislation. It's something that people have criticized the Parliament for quite a number of times over the last decade and a half, certainly. I'm not trying to propose something to constrain a minister or ministry. When there are other competing priorities, it may not be the priority matter. But I'm simply saying, for the purposes of accountability to the people of Jamaica, that we at least require that the minister responsible explain to Parliament or issue some statement to Parliament as to why, if it is not going to be reviewed within the 5 years. That, Minister, is what I think our people deserve.
Ms. Eden.
Chair, thank you. It was just in relation to section 43 and the discussion had, I just wanted to, the committee may wish to note that the obligation is by a committee of both houses of Parliament. So this provision is in an act of Parliament, and it is, the obligation isn't by reference to a committee of both houses of Parliament. And the timeline is only in respect of the first occasion on which it is to be reviewed. Thereafter, it is from time to time.
What is being suggested in subsection 2 is that it should be reviewed at least once every 5 years. Would that be appropriate, Ms. Eden, to put it in subsection 2?
Chair, it is a matter of policy.
I don't have a difficulty that it should be reviewed at least once every 5 years. The review might well say there's no need to set up a committee. The act, to be frank with you, one of the reasons why this, for the last COVID intervened, okay? So not many things happened between 20 and 23 when it should have been reviewed. Since then, we have been collecting data from 24, 25, so we literally last year said we would review it as soon as possible. So to the extent that we were collecting data, and I keep my fingers crossed, it has been doing a good job. You know, the child diversion program has been fairly successful. So that we were, when we came to Parliament, the few weaknesses which we're trying to sort out now, we're trying to correct. It may well be that if we implement what we're now recommending, that in 5 years' time we can say it is working well, there's no need to do any further review. But I agree with Senator Sharon Golden Campbell in put subsection 2 that it should be at least be reviewed once every 5 years. But I wouldn't impose any burden. If the burden would have to be in Parliament, rather than.
Can I interrupt you a moment?
Sure,
because
go
I
ahead,
think that's clarity that Ms. Eaton just brought, and I thank her for it. The act is to be reviewed by a committee of both houses of Parliament appointed for the purpose. So I think she was trying to gently suggest to us that it's really not for the minister to come to Parliament and say the act must be reviewed, but our duty as parliamentarians to make the requisite
that's true.
Table the requisite motion for the review of the act, or to somehow stimulate the parliamentary system to put this on the agenda. And I thank her for that. Back in my court, Ms. Eaton, and I appreciate the correction.
Right, thanks. Minister Dana Dixon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I agree with the review every 5 years. There are a lot of pieces of legislation that need to be reviewed and that are not. I would not add the other part of the request, of the recommendation earlier. But my question for you, Chair, was that you had noted that, after 5 years, you could do a review and it may come back and you may determine that there is no need for a committee. But in 43(1), it says the act shall be reviewed from time to time by a committee of both houses of Parliament appointed for the purpose. So we would have to set up a committee in order to do the review. And that is a part of where my hesitation is, given the quantum of laws that need reviewing. But I can live with it because it is something related to children, and I think that we need to often review legislation relating to children, but just noting that we would still have to set up the committee to even decide that we're not going to do much more.
No, Dan says yes.
Yes.
Dan says yes. In other words, once Parliament sets up that Joint Select Committee, the committee may well listen to the various contributions from the different sectors, and after 2 or 3 meetings, agree that there's no need to have any review, any further review. So, but I think it's appropriate to at least say that the bill, the act, should be reviewed every 5 years, because as you quite rightly pointed out, Minister Dana Dixon, we're dealing with children. And, we have to be very sensitive about the laws that, pertain to children. I think Ms. Cuthbert-Flynn would like to say something. Go ahead, Ms. Cuthbert-Flynn.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I also want to register my approval of this and to agree with Senator Shireen Golden Campbell and Minister Dana Dixon that I think it is important to review, especially this piece of legislation, the fact, as you mentioned, that we're dealing with children. And, when we look at some of the laws, even now, with the various fines from 19, how long, and we pretty much have to laugh at ourselves as parliamentarians that we've not, and I do understand the constraints that we do have to review the piles of bills that we have to look at. But I think it's going to be important, and when we're dealing with children, to make sure that we're reviewing, because things change, and a case may come up where we possibly didn't see happening, and we have to then make some changes. And I think it would be a good thing to review piece of legislation like this every 5 years. I'm not sure, however, again, the stipulation, but again, it was mentioned that a committee would have to be set up in Parliament to say, okay, we'll look at this piece of legislation or not. So I want to register here that I'm in agreement with that.
Thank you, Minister Cuthbert-Flynn. I think there's consensus. We review the act every 5 years. Just leave it at that. Now, in relation to the first schedule, an interesting point is noted. If those persons with the matrix will see that one of the recommendations from Jamaicans for Justice is that we should include cyber crimes. Now, Minister Dana Dixon, Minister Dana Dixon, you might be interested, that we should put in the first schedule, the question of social media, that children, a number of countries, a number of countries are now banning children or make it unlawful for children to be hooked in on social media. And I can see where, this concept of cybercrime is something which we may well have to put into this child diversion, the schedule. Because I can tell you, from where I sit, I see children who seem to be more hooked on, their iPad rather than books. I don't know how we're going to manage this, but the issue really is how do we, and countries are now, they're now passing laws to control social media. I don't know if we want to go there, but let me hear your views. Go ahead.
Chair, I'm just going to put on my Minister of Information hat. The government at this time does not have any intention to ban social media, so I just want to make that very clear.
Not even for children?
Not even for children.
Okay.
There is some work being done to look at the impact of social media on our children, and the approach the government has articulated is that it's about public education and not really trying to do restrictions. So at this point, that is what the official government policy is in relation to that. But you did raise the issue of cybercrimes, which is a completely different thing. And I agree with you in terms of, given today's climate and actions that, well, we see what children are doing online, some of the cyberbullying that's taking place, which is really terrible. But those elements we do have to treat with in the ambit of the Act, but I would take that away from any discussions around bans on social media.
Right. I must admit, I should be aware of that. It's cybercrimes I was thinking of. Go ahead, Member Buchanan.
Chairman, you made reference to the tablet, and I must let you know that I am one who's advocating, and many times I reach out to the minister and beg her some tablets, and she says, what? But I'm always, my thought is that every child in this country should have a tablet, because it makes us competitive in the modern world. And there's a bad assumption that every child with a tablet who is not reading is not getting the information. But a lot of the programs are on the tablet that cause children to be much more advanced. What I will say is, though, I would have said earlier about the concept of the uncontrollable parent. We are taking away too much, we are removing responsibilities that parents are supposed to have. It cannot be that children live what they learn, they mimic, they repeat. So if you have parents who have no social media control, then you're going to see children acting out like that because they see what happened. What the government cannot do is to begin to try to regulate free speech, regulate how people disseminate information. So we have to have a little bit more targeted conversations about what public education will look like and what responsible parenting will do. So I'm seeing in the legislation that perhaps it is the concept of child neglect that needs to be strengthened, because parents ought to be responsible for the conduct and actions as children while we make effort to divert them. I'm just making that clear.
My only concern, I'm not too sure that this is the act that we would put that in.
No, I'm just saying, though, when we're having the conversations wherever it fits, we should focus on the diversion, focus on in terms of how we are reprogramming the minds of children who find themselves in conflict with the law. And if cyberbullying comes in, what schedule does it fit, and what type of program should we do to reintegrate and re-educate?
Well, Jamaicans for Justice suggests we put in Section 9 of the Cybercrimes Act, malicious communication. I would support that, okay? Did we look at any other offenses that could be included in the first schedule, Ms.? Yes.
Grievous sexual assault, Minister.
You-
We do see that coming from the courts. And they come with the sexual intercourse with a person under 16, but the police cannot send it to child diversion directly because of the grievous sexual assault as well. So
Okay, so and that is also recommended by the Ministry of Education. So you would want to include those two, grievous sexual assault
Yes, Chair.
and cyber crimes. I would say we put in this cyber crimes generally, so that children, if into the first schedule. So Ms. Eden, go ahead, Ms. Eden.
Chair, thank you. If I recall the discussion pertaining to grievous sexual assault, that there is a range of factual circumstances that can constitute that offense. So there was a question as to who would be able to do that referral in respect of that offense, because there's a range of acts that may constitute the offense.
Well, the usual persons, the constable, usually the constable. In other words, if it is being done in the school, the guidance council may well have to speak to the constable, I mean, at one time I was saying that guidance counselors, principals, but I've withdrawn that position. It would be too wide. There's no doubt also that parents, at one time I said parents, but then the best approach is to filter it through the police and the DPP before it gets to child diversion. Okay, Ms. Eden? Sure.
I'm not hearing the conversation about possession simplicity in relation to the firearms. And I'm prepared to sit here until 4 o'clock to advocate.
No, with due respect, though. As I said, we'd rather that goes on the Section 37. In other words, let it be a Section 37. I am aware that the Ministry of National Security suggested that it should not be included in the first schedule. I would like us to support that position, but to remind ourselves that under Section 37, it is possible.
But
in other words, we do not, no, put another way.
Chairman, the purpose of child diversion, and I'll say this respectfully in the context, and this is no criticism on my counterparts before me. The firearm legislation, and we went painstakingly through an excellent reform for the expungement legislation. We've had conversations about this. It was badly drafted. The firearm legislation. Just give me some leverage. If the child diversion is to mean anything, the message that is to be sent is that there is a space in law that there is something called social agency. We are well aware that there are adults who are using children, even children below the age of criminal responsibility, to lock firearms. Let's call it that. And to carry. So if we are going to be in the business of being able to pull these children and divert them from this deviant behavior, possession simpliciter has to be a space that we can divert them and put them in programs. If we leave it to the discretion under Section 37 in that contemplation, I'm afraid that there will be children who won't be able to benefit. And I don't want to get into the classism behavior, but to say that if we are diverting, I'm begging the committee to treat children as children, nothing more. Regardless of how some of them appear to be big, it is the mind that we are trying to reprogram. And I will say this, Chairman, before you interrupt me. I work in the criminal justice system. Some of the reasons that the youth is found in possession of a firearm, we have not begun to ventilate the lack of free will. And criminal responsibility is founded on autonomy, the freedom that I freely did a particular thing. You cannot be in communities where a don says you are responsible for locking the firearm because you're a talented football player or track and field and nobody is going to trouble you. And you're found in possession of a firearm.
But due respect, though, you're giving substance to sanction that behavior. With due respect. No, one second.
Mm-hmm.
If you say that you are going to allow that child diversion offense, then the Verdun will say, you won't be convicted, you just do it. No, one second. All I'm really saying is that...
Up here for him attack, you know. Isaac really school him, beat and teach, and I try if he just come up with something with him drunk himself, when it make no sense. Because them can't take the pressure from Isaac. Because them still after them mind say, oh, him shouldn't be here as a criminal and a convicted criminal. That's all them brass clad painted them head, you know. Because I'm come with something, him do it all the while. I don't make no sense, the brother here. But him a justice minister. Them so, you see, them supposed to take a blood clot back seat, you know. But them just so love the brass clad and Andrew can't move them. And them now move themselves. Him shouldn't be there. He need a younger man where really understand. Because him not reckon and feel like what Isaac do. He might in the longer than him. But believe you me. Because them is all for the rich uptown people. Him don't know nothing about the ghetto people them. Isaac know about the ghetto people them. Isaac deal with them people. People got what man will spend what? How much about 50 years in a prison? Without innocently and Isaac rascal get him out, you know. Him not do them things there. Them not do them things there. This old fart is upon the screen. Watch him. Yo.
In appropriate cases, the very same examples, if that child in confidence can say to the police or to the DPP or in camera, in court, how they got possession of a box of ammunition and guns, then the child may well be put on a child diversion program under Section 37. But I would want it under the first schedule, which would, with due respect, be almost flying in the face of the firearms legislation. What I'm really saying, Minister Buchanan.
No, not a minister yet, but speaking to 12 minister.
This blood clot brother, you see, them little old boy, if you go take a back seat, you know, Dalroy, Chucky. If you go take a back seat, you just you make so much blood clot mistake and put so much stumbling block on the justice system. You and Paul Llewellyn, right? And you always jump out and fucking, you make Paul Llewellyn steer. You know, them people, you know, they go, you know. And when a man like Isaac Buchanan beat and teach you rascal and school you, you want to come with a little idiot talk and it don't make no sense. Because you is not for the fucking poor people them. Isaac is for them. And them him help. And at them him the monks. Who are the monks? Big rascal, drunken blood clot, Dalroy, Chucky. What do you man? Who you the monks?
No, what I'm really saying...
I received it.
What I'm really saying, Member Buchanan, is we're saying the process should be that the court would come in once the child is found with a firearm or with ammunition. The most I would go is to say if the child was found with a toy gun. You understand? But your position that the child may well be forced to hide, to carry, to be in possession of a firearm would be buttressing the don, so-called don in the area, to say, you can do it. If they find you, you're going to child diversion. So I would not really support the position to say that a child who is found in possession, simplicity of ammunition or a gun, that they automatically go to child diversion. I would say let the court make a decision under Section 37.
Minister, and I won't detain you, but I can tell you, let me start. Jamaica is a high crime society.
Teacher,
Judges
teach
must
him, Isaac.
never, justice must appear and seem to be done. The judges will never start to hand out goodies as if it's Santa Claus at Christmas time and pass the olive branch. It is the duty of the legislator to state the intention of how, in relation to children, what do we want for the future of our children? I sit here and I'm not pontificating, I promise you. At 47, Chairman, I am still dealing with the past of convictions that have nothing to do with firearms. If you want the best version of a Jamaican child to be better than me, if at all there is any good in me, and you see it, Chairman, I've interfaced with you many times. But if even a spark of intelligence, a spark of a son and daughter of this country to be the best versions of themselves, all I'm asking.
Yeah, because you see what I'm telling him, you know. Him know say well then, because you see him a fight against the ghetto people them. So he don't give a shit about them. Because him is uptown and you know say well then it's just a little minority of uptown people will get in trouble. Kids them, right? It's always the fucking garrison. And Isaac I deal with that. Him them amongst them every day. This a pussy you know, that him just uptown and he might try to put pressure upon these people. The youth, you don't care about them type of youth they not. They don't care one shit. You just listen to him talk, you know. And that's why I say, well then Isaac I school him. And I like it. So him come up with some little fuckery. You know, when some people can't take argument and them come up with something because of the jail piece, you know. Boy, I mean, I tell you these people, yo.
Sin is to empower the JCF to drape up a boy, take the gun from him, and let the Don realize that as you can't buy enough guns that we can confiscate. The court's primary intention is to get guns off of the street and especially out of the hands of children. Possession simpliciter is not saying to the court that if a juvenile decides to go on a shootout, that they should be given child diversion. I'm saying there are many reasons why possession simpliciter should not be the basis upon which a person who has not even gained the right to vote, his life is messed up for the rest of his life.
No, I understand.
We're fighting. All I'm begging for is to treat children as children. There was a time when my mother would tell me which to go pick my own switch for her to punish me. Those days are long gone, but it means something because if we spare the rod, we spoil the child. If we spare the diversion, we're going to just have worthless criminals who may not have the opportunities of families and role models.
Always bear in mind, we're not excluding it.
No, but I'm doubling down, Chairman. I can only ask for my colleagues to back
No,
me
let
on
me hear
this
the
one,
views of the
because
other.
I'm thinking about the children, and I just won't stop. The marshal will have to come for me because I want people to understand that possession. I will yield to my colleagues.
All right, no, you go ahead, Minister Dalroy.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I really want to support. I know what you're saying. I have seen it with children, and really, it is possession simpliciter. As he says, you want the guns off. And remember that in certain societies in this country, when the Don says, you hold this, a young child sometimes fears for his own life, or if he doesn't hold it.
And I'm saying...
And we are saying, but what he says is true. With the state of things now, if it is not included and it goes to the court.
It's a matter about this stinking boy named Dalroy Chuck. That guy there, you can't see the narcissist on him, you know. Because you see, even Dalrymple Poor, which is a rascal, we don't know if he even class or anything, but even she. Well, him one rascal, minister them a turn against him. The guy if you go home, Because some stay stubborn, I feel like him know, and him don't know nothing. Then just use bullies him. And when Isaac come and a fucking school them, you know, them not like it, you know. But when you see Dalroy people and them people that agree with him. So you see Dalroy Chuck left in the blood clot ocean. Right? And he's supposed to shame like a dog. You look at him and hear him. Coming like a fucking draconian shit. When people are telling the truth. I know them don't care about kids. Especially black kids, ghetto kids. Only uptown. So I want to give them the hardest punishment. Draconian style. You don't give a fuck. Them people here. Yo.
We still practice in the courts. They are not going to get the leniency at all. They are not going to get it. So we have to decide whether or not we really want to. I know it is touch and go, but we are not saying if the child has done something, you know. So your
view would be to put possession simpliciter in the first schedule.
Yes.
We get that.
Knowing the power of the dons and how they operate too.
Let me just take Senator Donna Scott Motley, and then I would like to hear from Ms. Judith Cuthbert Flynn too, because the Ministry of National Security object to it being a part of the first schedule. Go ahead, Senator Scott Motley.
I have always had reservations about the Firearms Act. I think that there was a definite overreach when that act was being developed. But I have a little concern about our approach today, in the sense that we certainly don't have any information, we don't have any data as to what exactly has been happening in the courts in terms of whether children have been coming before the courts charged with illegal possession of firearm. I do agree that there should be some guidance to the judiciary. Whether or not it should be a part of the schedule is what concerns me, because our discussion does disclose that the judges have discretion. And I wonder if we should not, if it is not more, that the judges should be aware of the policy of the administration as it pertains to children, rather than for us to have it in the schedule. Because, Minister, to be very frank, I do share your concern that this provision might be abused somewhat by those who have a lot of influence. Mm-hmm. This is such an important discussion. It points to the real need for a revision of the Firearms Act, which we have been promised, but it requires a significant analysis and deliberation. And I wouldn't want to make the recommendation without having the appropriate documentation to guide me. So maybe it is that I'm not coming down on either side, Minister, mm-hmm. But a change like this is deserving of a degree of discussion and analysis, is what I'm saying. And within the context of the other changes which we need to see in the firearms legislation.
Thank you very much, Senator Donna Scott Motley. One second.
All right, so good morning, everyone, and good morning, Chairman.
Could you state your name for the...
So I'm Lloyd Tilwellin from CPFSA, Legal Officer. Mm-hmm. All right, so I do understand what counsel is saying. However, how is it that these children would really... So the truth is that they would benefit from the child diversion program, but the cycle, so is it that we are going to take these children out of the community? Right, because once they go back to the community, the possibility exists that the cycle will continue, right? And then my colleague was also saying, if it is that the dons know that these children will be going on the child diversion program and they will not be charged, then in essence, they will do it again, right? So they will continue to impose, this on them for them to do. And then, Mrs. Don't remember her name.
Dalroy.
Right. She indicated that, they are children, so they are very impressionable, right? So once, you know, the Don comes to them and says, you know, you have to do this, then the fact that the Don knows that they won't get it, there will be no implication, basically, then the children will continue. So it will be a continuous cycle if it is that the children are not taken out of these communities. So that is the issue that I'm having with putting, you know, this offense in the first schedule. So there it's going to be problematic.
One second. Ms. Cuthbert-Flynn, are you there?
Yes, Chairman, I am here. And, you know, this is a very touchy subject, and I hear my colleagues mentioning several things. But I will have to agree with MNSP. And I'm sure, you know, Senator Scott Mott mentioned about data. I am sure that they would have collected or looked at data before making this recommendation that it is kept separate from the Child Diversion Act. I also believe, you know, and I know that we're looking right now at the Firearms Act and to make some changes. However, I think we have to set a standard. You know, you talk about Member Buchanan mentioned about parents earlier and their responsibility. But we have to set a standard. We do have a gun problem in Jamaica. And so with this proliferation of guns and, you know, just our culture, I think a standard has to be set. And these children, they might be young, but I think they all know right from wrong. And as simply put, the dons in these communities will know that there's really no punishment if it is that they ask them to lock the guns or to carry the guns or to hide it or what have you. There'll be no punishment for them. It'll be a child diversion matter, and that is it. So I think we have to look at setting a standard and making sure that we keep to that standard. And while I may, you know, empathize and be sympathetic to children possibly, you know, getting in serious trouble for a gun crime, I think it is important right now in our society to really make sure that this kind of an act, this matter is not a child diversion matter that is kept separate. And so that is my point of view on the matter.
Thank you very much, Minister Cuthbert-Flynn. Yes, Mr. Member Buchanan.
Chairman, I know I speak from a place of a lot of emotions, and then people ask for data. I'm not currying favor. The very act that we're speaking of, and I will say this with the greatest amount of respect, the recommendation from the Ministry of National Security is a plea to this very committee to, in relation to firearms, not treat children as children. Section 37 says the judge has the discretion to treat every matter when it comes to a child for diversion. The act says, and I read, in the event of any inconsistency between a provision of this act and any other law other than the Constitution of Jamaica, the provisions of this act shall prevail to the extent of the inconsistency. There is no data that I need to say that to preserve the human capital of a child in Jamaica, which I think is the most important commodity for the future of this country. We have ministers and prime ministers asking women to have children to preserve the future of this country. And I'm simply saying, I practice in the criminal courts. Judges sit and say, Mr. Buchanan, my hands are tied. Miss Dalrymple, my hands are tied. In camera, judges says, my hands are tied. And they issue certificates to preserve young students who have the brightest future, that this will prevent them. And I am saying as the country is watching, treat our children in Jamaica as you would do a child in England or the United States. Give them the defense of affluenza. Treat them as if they were your child. And I can say this to you, I can't think of a country when I was a child that allowed me to be a member of parliament to say, don't give the next man's son the opportunity. It's not me closing doors. I'm simply asking this committee to open it.
No,
I don't know what data you could need to prevent. And let me respond to the young lady. The child diversion, we had many conversations about whether or not we should afford 1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strike for the child who diverts and does the same crime over and over. The purpose of child diversion is to give them a chance.
No, but
some need 1, some need 2, but I'm simply saying in relation to possession simplicity, if we want to get guns off the streets, if we understand what is happening on the ground, every child is a child. And if we're not seeing it that way in child diversion, I don't know what I'm doing here.
No, but with due respect, Member Buchanan, we're not disagreeing with totally. The difference you and I are having, let me just say this, is that if you put it in the first schedule, it's almost automatic that it can be referred to child diversion. What I'm saying is allow it under Section 37, where in appropriate cases, where it is clear that the child is being used or the child got possession by accident or negligent, then it can be put in the child diversion program. One second. Because the child may well deliberately want to control a gun. A 16-year-old may well deliberately want to control a gun. And have
you see, when I come with this blood clot I come talk about now. Because I know exactly what go on in the ghetto. They're not really too business, you know, because them uptown, you know. And I come use this now. Just like what Andrew Wallace do with clerks. Even though it's a wheel up clerks at the garrison. And when I go to school, he would even afford a blood clerks. And one at a time, he said them take him clerks as well. Because he must try to buy one or something. But he have them little things. So that this brother I talk about now. He might try to say something when it really makes sense. Because Isaac I tell him the right thing. But them don't give a shit, you know. They want it, they don't give a shit about kids. Because look what happened at Trelawney. A 3-day-old baby. They lit on the blood clot house. That even that them not safe. Imagine that. And them come talk about. They don't care about rascal Jamaican pitney them. They just use them. Them care about for them one. So Isaac attack him deaf on pints. Because him live amongst them. This guy not really you know see him, I always see him in a parliament, you know. And at some big place I drink whiskey, you know. He's not up on the street. He's not a street man like Isaac. But he have the most mouth. Because he talk where him know so well when they go on in the rascal get to him here. And they go on from long time, from an Asiago time. And at them start them thing that I give like a blood clot youth gun to carry. And then I'm town and them places. I mean, them not go a long time. So police now go really check them too tough. And if they in police, even find them with it, the man who responsible now get in trouble. Let her go on from long time. So when I come with now, come talk about young girl carry gun and rate and lele. I do something where we know that already. So this is irrelevant. You just want to get out of the rascal because you're on a fire. And that's all it is. Because you are too stubborn. You're a stubborn little Chinese looking boy. You, fat face, whiskey drinker. Yeah, man. I can't stand this brother here, you know.
having been found with the gun, he says, put me on child diversion, or automatically it has to go to child diversion. And my answer is, that may not be an appropriate case for child diversion. Because, one second, it is a deliberate act of the child, maybe even to fire a gun, okay? Gun salute, as the case may be. Yeah, all I'm really saying is that once it involves what is the most dangerous thing in Jamaica today, gun crimes, that leave it to the judge discretion to...
I put down poor people pitney, you know, and get up people, you know, pitney, you know. Put them down. Him check say well in every one of them are the same thing. and him not respect on them. So all them say them love kids. And then I try to give them a chance until like that. They just want to really, once them find with a gun, they know the consequences, but they want to just punish them and blinding them rascal career for the rest of them life. That's how this blood clot boy attack. And that's how them think. And now when Isaac put the truth to him now, he might try to talk something you know, when no relevant, when it make no sense. He might talk something where everybody know. And him now live it. Yo.
Look at the nature and circumstances to determine whether it can be referred to child diversion under Section 37. But if you just put it there and say that guns simpliciter, or possession of a gun or ammunition simpliciter, then, you know, the discretion of the judge does not even come into consideration the nature and circumstances of how the child got the gun. It may not even be considered. No, but you're sending it straight to child diversion, no, and I'm not too sure I can support that.
Chairman, there's not one child there. We have not even gone. This committee has not accepted my proposal of mandatory child diversion. So I don't know. I cannot follow the logic you are saying. Here's why I'm saying this. Notwithstanding, as the child diversion currently is, we still have to beg a judge to send sex with a person under the age of 16 to child diversion. Yeah. Because if the circumstances don't require it. And I'm saying we're starting with the general rule that is a child diversion offense. We will identify the miscreants, and I leave it to the judges and the constable and the prosecutor to have the wisdom when that time comes. But if we start to say, I cannot figure in which society that a person who is a child who finds himself with drugs get to move on because drugs are very dangerous, and they get to get their records expunged, but not the child in possession of a firearm. If we cannot expunge it, why are we convicting them to condemn them for the rest of their lives? At least in Jamaica, when a young person, and I can speak for myself, find themselves with drugs, they get to have their convictions quashed and expunged, and they get to walk up and down and behave like they're somebody. No, it used to happen, and then 2014 it stopped. I was a child and I was the beneficiary of an expungement.
Let's not get into the personal.
No, because it is also a situation where we are saying that deviant behavior can make the schedule, but possession simpliciter can't.
Member Buchanan.
I will I will ask, like I learn fast. I will ask, like my colleague, Senator Golden Campbell, and ask for the Attorney General to provide an opinion and the necessary data to be brought to this committee so that we can make an informed decision.
This is a straightforward policy position, which this committee has.
You're so stubborn, a boy, his people. You're so stubborn, this rascal, looking China boy, look, yeah, let me tell you something, you know. The truth are built in them ears, you know, and them can't accept it, you know, and agree, you know, and move on, you know. And that's why Jamaica so hard, and that's why people are suffer. Because these guys, what's them, a lawmaker. A good debate this, you know. And when a man carries something like this to the table, who is a successful lawyer, I know him I say. 10 times bigger liar than this brother here named Dalroy Chuck. And him come with some foolish argument and now agree to simple things, just agree and move on. But no, they might debate it out unnecessarily. Why me I tell you, Jamaica really in a bandage, you know. Yeah, man.
Okay, to recommend.
Well then, Chairman, back me on this one.
No.
Just this one. No. This one possession simplicity.
Member Buchanan, you have to understand, I have been more involved in the criminal justice system than you.
That is true.
And I can tell you, walking the streets across the inner city communities, the people who carry the guns for the criminals are the women and the children. You don't really find the gunman only at night, them bring it out, you know. But the children and the women carry the guns, right?
You must know, you know. What's blood clot gun them fine and all we don't know where them going to the right on a GLP headquarters, all these things. So them know him know exactly what I talk about. Cause him know but you see him come use that panta about. We know that say gunman make woman carry a gun, pitney carry a gun. That is something where we grow up and we know that. So we have pick up things that they can hold things upon people. That what Isaac I try to tell you, say no, a different, you know, now it's 2026. Right? Now it's 2026. And you're here, babe. You don't want to agree to something where it's fucking important because you want to pressure the poor people pitting them because them will get pressure, you know. The garrison, them people from the garrison, you know, and them will get pressure and suffer. And a female, this brother always be a wicked little wretch, you know. They're right, Chuck, you know. Them people have to just take with themselves. Yo. Boy, them too much, man. They're too much.
Right, 1 second, let me finish. This country is overwhelmed with gun crimes. At one time, 80% of the killings were done by guns. I think it has now dropped below 70%. We have too many guns in this country. And it's clear to me that even possession of guns simpliciter is a serious indictment on our society. Fine? I think this committee would be sending the wrong signal to say because a child is a person in possession of a gun, could be an M16, you know, could be an M16 and carrying on boxes of gun in their yard, as the case may, no, as the case may be. And the child, you're going to a home, and the child is the only one sitting on the box of ammunition or on the box of guns. Fine? Because, remember Buchanan, I have to tell you, in many inner city communities, they flash gun every night, you know. They flash gun around every night. As far as they're concerned, and even the children, them firing guns. We cannot now in this parliament say that because a child is found with a gun, we send that child immediately to child diversion. My view is that there are appropriate cases, undoubtedly, in which the child could benefit from a child diversion program where he or she has been found with it. But it should not be a general rule. So if we can get all the evidence, you can listen to the police officers, you can go around into communities, and I'm telling you, Member Buchanan, that the Parliament wouldn't support it. I can tell you that.
Chairman,
you know, Chairman, we keep talking about inner city, but you have rural communities where youngsters are also being caught with guns, and they don't necessarily have good intention having those guns. So, I mean, what is a message that we would send to say, if it is that you're caught with the possession of an illegal weapon, that you are now just going to be sent to child diversion? I don't think we're going to be sending the right message. And as you said, we have a gun culture in Jamaica.
Yes.
And yes, Member Buchanan, you're saying, you know, it might be a harsh reality for some of these youngsters to, you know, not be able to, you know, get this kind of crime expunged, you know, like you would if it's a possession of illegal drugs. But again, I believe that this kind of a crime, possession of firearm, illegal firearm, should not be a matter where it's just sent to child diversion just like that.
Member Buchanan, may I make a point? We can close this off by saying, in the report, the committee is concern and make it that the committee can be, say, divided, if you want to put it that way.
Chairman.
Without taking a vote. No, one second. Because I can assure you, I cannot see how we could put this generally in the first schedule without not putting a whole heap of other crimes in the first schedule.
No, well, you know...
see, so I have to be very careful.
Chairman, I want to explain something to you, and I will remain silent after I make this statement. I dream of a Jamaica where we treat children as children and nothing further. But just understand that we speak about gun crimes a lot of times, and these gun crimes are a result, the empowerment of possession of a firearm, are results of being in homes where persons are sexually molested. Crimes that are not reported. And I'm just letting you know that we have accepted a lot of deviant behavior and said this is okay. But I'm saying possession simplicity, which calls for a more important investigation as to why children. The trauma, we speak about it and say we're in the trenches, but you don't understand the trauma of living rural, living poor, and he who feels it knows it. I am just talking up for, as the opposition spokesperson on youth and human rights, I know what they feel. I know what it is to have to say, I'm a big man because people say I'm a big man. If somebody say you're careless, you say, well, I might as well be careless. There's nobody speaking positivity into the lives of the future of this nation. So guess what? If the parliament doesn't want, or this committee doesn't want to agree with me, and we don't want to put it to a vote, and we don't want to be brave enough to protect our children, because if the parliament give me the power, I will use my belt, and every man that think him is a bad man and him is 16, give me the power to kick off them face and don't arrest me. And we won't need diversion. But because I must be a distinguished gentleman, and I must say, well, let me sit in my small space and not protect children, I will yield, Chairman. But I'm hurt by this. I must tell you, my soul is hurting by this.
But you see, what is happening is that you want all or nothing, or all. I am saying what you're pleading, Member Buchanan, is possible. But it is only possible in what I would consider appropriate circumstances. I'm sure you remember, Buchanan, what happened on the weekend in Thailand, where a 14-year-old boy just killed about 7 teachers and killed its grandparents. He was in possession of a gun, 14-year-old in Thailand. You see it across the United States where children with guns. Fortunately, we don't have it here so far, but we could never in Jamaica send a signal that we are going to be unusually lenient because the possession was by a child. I'm not saying that in appropriate cases they should not be considered. But I would just want to ask the clerk, no, we'll get the data and we'll find out.
But Chairman, I have had my hand up for some time.
Go ahead, Senator Scott.
And I really would respectfully ask to be heard.
Sure, go ahead. Again.
I don't think that this is a situation where the judges can say my hands are tied.
No.
I think the legislation allows them. Absolutely. If they hear the circumstances under which a child comes into possession of the firearm, the legislation allows them to send it to child diversion. This discretion on the part of the judges is of extreme significance.
Very.
And I believe that the judges should be urged to utilize it in the appropriate circumstances. As someone who does not support mandatory sentencing, I think the commendable thing about the legislation is that it gives the judiciary that opportunity. I could not, and I know it's going to surprise some people, but I could not support it being automatic that a child who is found in possession of a firearm be automatically sent to child diversion. We have to contemplate, our society is advancing. these recommendations which we are making for the amendment of the Child Diversion Act are significant, and it will impact children considerably. But I must tell my colleague that I regret, but that I cannot support this quantum leap, but that I implore that all the mechanisms available be used to make the judiciary know that they have an option, even in a firearm offense.
Thank you very much, Senator Scott Martin.
I agree with you, Senator.
Go ahead.
And that is where we possibly should take this, where we allow or put into the law, where the judiciary has a hand in this, a say in this. You know, I can say that I was held up at gunpoint with a Glock, and it was a teenager who did this. So, I mean, we can't just simply say, oh, you know, just send this person to child diversion just because of a simple possession. And so I'm in total agreement. I cannot agree just, you know, wholesomely just saying that this should be a child diversion, you know, situation.
Okay, thanks.
And again, Chairman, I'm in agreement with you and also Senator
Minister
Markey.
Cuthbert Finn. Senator Shereen Golden Campbell.
Thank you, Chairman. And just very quickly, Senator Scott Motley, I think, has raised the issue, and I want to seek some clarity because I believe it was Miss Eaton who reminded us that a diversion offense, the meaning of a diversion offense includes not just offenses in the first schedule, but any other offense for which a court may make an order referring the child to participate in a diversion program.
Under Section 37.
Question is, my question is to the team, is there, and I don't have it in front of me, I can't remember from the top of my head, but is there something in the Firearms Prohibition and Prevention, I can't remember the full name of it, the Firearms Act, that exempts the Firearms Act from the provisions of the Child Diversion Act? That's my first question. I want to make a comment though, and I really do empathize with my colleague, Member Buchanan. I understand where he's coming from. I understand where his heart is placed in his proposal to this committee. And I also appreciate the comments of my colleagues. But if you would just permit me, you know, it's exactly these kinds of conversations that I'm asking us to guard against. We really cannot sit and make policy in a parliamentary committee on our feelings and anecdotes. So if it is that we are considering a proposal, the ask of the committee or the ask from the committee really should be to ask the relevant department, ministry, office, whatever, to do the research, to inform the committee. These are emotive issues, you know, and we all have a personal viewpoint. We all have a moral compass that we are making a determination as to how we can help our nation's youth. But please let us have these discussions by looking at what the measured circumstances are, what the impacts are in the court system, and what the outcomes are for these kinds of youth. Not just about the youth that we see and we know it's a bad situation with one or two. We cannot continue to make law that way. So if the team could answer my question in relation to the Firearms Act, is there a provision in the Firearms Act that takes it out of the purview of the Child Diversion Act? If it does not, then I believe what Senator Scott Motley was saying, and if I could just underscore and make it a little louder, is that the judge already has the discretion. So please guide me on that. I'm grateful.
All right, thanks. Miss Wright or Miss Eaton, could you help on that question? To the best of my knowledge, the Firearms Act does not exclude the child diversion, but could you check on it for me, please? You wanted to ask just name and department, sorry.
My name is Trevon Chu, Crown Counsel at the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information. With regarding the point that we are discussing, just a few points I want to make. One, the serious nature of offenses are considered in other spheres, other areas of law. When we look at the Bail Act, we see where a gun being used is considered in the application for bail or the consideration for bail, as well as other areas as well. So when we look at the serious nature of an offense, I believe it applies to the Child Diversion Act as well. The use or possession of a firearm is a serious offense. And what we want to make clear is that the child is not shut out of the Child Diversion Act. They are not shut out. It is who will exercise that discretion to send them. And we are saying that that person should be the court, and it should stay within the court. And I also want to indicate that when the matter is determined or decided by the court, whether the child should be referred, it allows for a holistic view, a holistic review of the situations in the matter. So we may see where, I think my friend was mentioning that the child may be forced to bring a gun. My friend here was also indicating that Dons may know that they can give the gun once more to the child. The judge would be able to look at all the circumstances of the case and make not only an order with regards to child diversion, but there are other things that may come into play. The child may have to be referred to CPFSA perhaps. They might be become a child in need of care and protection, and that's something that a judge can consider. So I believe the discretion should remain with the judge.
Right.
The courts, rather.
I would just like to remind colleagues, any offense in the child diversion schedule, a constable can do about 4 things. Issue an informal warning, issue a formal warning, issue a caution, or charge a child. So that it is understood that within those 4 provisions, depending on the nature and seriousness of the offense, the constable can do that. If the constable charges a child, then it may well be the DPP has to determine whether they send it to child diversion, or if, the child declare innocence, then it may well go to court. I don't believe that it should be within the province of the police officer, or for that matter, the clerk of court, to make that decision that a person who is found with a gun can be sent to child diversion. Guns are serious offenses in Jamaica. And I believe, as you quite rightly say, attorney from education, the circumstances must be looked at carefully. And that is where a judge, listening to the circumstances, is in the best position to exercise a discretion whether or not that child should be sent to child diversion. And therefore, I would say the consensus, as I see it, is that it should not go in the first schedule. It should, as the Senators Scott Motley and Shereen Golden Campbell says, it should come under Section 37 of the Act, which provides that notwithstanding the diversion offenses specified in the first schedule, a court may make a child diversion referral order in respect of any other offense in the interests of justice. So I would want to leave it there for the moment. So that is it. You wanted to say something?
Hearing me? All right. So Ms. Chu, she would have indicated that it's a very, very serious offense, and you would have said it yourself. And the court shows how serious this offense is, because in the court system, you have what is called a differentiated case management. And that, I think, for offenses in relation to a gun, DCM 6 is a tier that they usually use. And that really means that the matter is directly transferred from the parish court to the Supreme Court. So it is something that is done immediately. So it just shows that, you know, the gravity of these offenses.
Thank you very much. Ms. Masado?
Thank you, Chair. I am not aware of any section or any provision in the new firearms legislation that deal with child diversion, but I am just going to read section 100. It says, proceedings against a person under the age of 18 years in respect of any offense under this act alleged to have been committed by that person shall be dealt with in accordance with the Child Care and Protection Act or the Gun Court Act, as the case may require.
So it does include child diversion, but it includes even the Child Care and Protection Act. So that even the Ministry of Education, at the moment, the child does not have to be convicted. It can go to Child Care and Protection Act, okay? I think we have, you wanted to say something?
Just to point out that there are two provisions in the Act that are of note for this particular discussion. So we would have discussed Section 37, which has the overriding provision for the judge's discretion. But on the first schedule as well, that lists the offenses, there's something in Section 10 that says an offense under any other enactment for which the penalty is imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years. So when we're looking at the Firearms Act, the minimum mandatory may exceed 3 years. But then is it that Section 37 would override that particular provision now to say, even though if you're reading the schedule, the firearms provisions would not fall within the schedule, can the judge then still rely on Section 37?
Which was the first one? Which section you read with?
So I'm reading from, so we had gone through Section 37
yeah,
before,
but which
so
was
I'm
the
now
one you said
reading
about
from
3 years?
the first schedule, that is the diversion offenses, so the first schedule of the Diversion Act. So if you look at number 10, which is the last thing on the first schedule, it states that an offense under any other enactment for which the penalty is imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years.
Section 37 overrides section the first
So I
schedule.
just wanted to point
no, it's
that
clear.
out, even though it's
because
there. Yeah.
37 refer to notwithstanding the first schedule. Okay. All right, colleagues, I think we have done a great job. Huh? We have some, with the matrix, we have some matters arising from the last meeting, and I think we had a full referral from Ms. Masado and also from law reform. I have not seen that law reform. It came in, where is it? You have it? Give me a copy. Miss Senator Shereen Golden Campbell, would you like to, have you had a chance to look at both matters? You have had a chance.
Chairman, I have had a chance to look at the Attorney General's opinion.
Right.
I unfortunately have not been able to digest the legal reform department's opinion.
Well, I see, you know, me see right, you know, Isaac depends something we're good, but you can't see PNP divided, you know, because them not support one another, because the woman them clear come with their fair argument. It's like I hear treasure go on, and you know, so them ambush them, and then you have Juliet Cockbird. I try to what I'm not saying, it's a kind of ambush from Isaac, but you up now. Philibert agree with him. A lot of people agree with him, you know, but when you see the woman, they mostly come out and talk about she don't agree with our colleagues. That all them gonna that's why I'm saying PNP not really organized right now, you know, because they should have fucking sing another one fucking M sheet, because that proposal is a good proposal. Because in England, you know, any kids find with a gun, them now got them have got the same thing when they matter about the child protection, whatever. And nobody now go even hear about them. Just like when a youth do anything, him name not gonna come out there. You're not gonna know him name. Them call him Child B or whatever. So England have the same thing. If a youth, a juvenile find with a gun, him not getting that punishment. But that's Jamaica for you. And when you have people like the PMP, I support them shit there. That's why I say, well, then PMP not really get themselves together, because them not depend the same level. They might give the GLP ammunition. Because Isat depend point. Because some of the youth, they may live in a certain condition and they traumatized, you know. People afraid of people. You know, no way to turn. So when a brass clad big man give you a gun and keep and things like that, you're going to want to do it. But I'm going to sweet you up. And you do it because you know if you not do it, what will happen. And that Isaac talk about. And then people know the truth. To live in the ghetto. But you see, I don't say no more, because we can see when MARKY come out and attack, she not support her colleagues and attack fuckery. That means she do a plot like they not give a shit about ghetto people. The whole of them are the same fucking thing, and that's why I'm saying, you know. Them people you can't be trusted. But you know, Isaac, go and do your work. I know you beat and teach and you scold him. But you see, in at the end of the day, they're gonna live to regret it. Because people are listening to them, you know. There are something that PMP is supposed to support in the Senate or whatever. And if them are support it, then them gonna give way. But this woman come out now. No one support Isaac motion. So what you have to think about these people? Boy, I tell you, say, leave it at that still, you know, because you see these people, them is something else. Them is sell out. Because, to be truthful, in England, a juvenile will with a gun, he's going to get protection. And England and Jamaica run on an England rascal rule same way. Them still on the fucking England rule. So they make them own law and a twist up thing. They don't respect kids. And you can see it. That's why they can tear down house with young kid in it and they don't give a shit. They know them them save the house and work out something. Like a baby outside in the element. 3-day-old baby. So what the fuck them kids can't talk about kids? They don't give a shit about black people kids. Because for them kids nine of them position there. And that's all it is. Well, big up yourself, Isaac. Just keep talking, brother. And you get from strength to strength. Yeah, man. But God not sleep. That's all I can say. But anyway, we're out and running, out and gunning. Boom, out.